course, whatever we were taught as kids was well thought of and made sense, but over the time the society has changed. And the world around us, our environment, is no longer what it once used to be. Change is inevitable, and it makes it very crucial for us to catch up. Being an author, it's an occupational hazard for me, thinking too much about too many things, everything under the sun. It's an occupational hazard for me, and mostly all the thoughts are random and stupid, but some miraculously make a little sense. One such thought I stumbled upon was the things that we were taught as kids, and do they hold that as much weight as we were told they do? So let me put forward my perspective and let you decide yours. Like a simple principle that we should not tell lies, but if faced by a thief and he's asking me where all the gold in the house is, of course I'm going to lie, right? So I'll put forward 6 such things and let you decide. Let's see where you find yourself at the end of this presentation. The first rule is respect your elders. In the second episode of Satyamev Jayate, the one about child sexual abuse, Aamir Khan said in the end that the reason why most of the kids are not able to speak up and tell their parents about what is going on with them is because the abuser is generally way older to him, and they have been taught since forever to respect their elders. And how can they speak up against them? That too to their own parents, the very people who taught them that under all situations, elders are supposed to be respected. So they don't. And imagine what the abused child must be going through, living in constant fear and embracing whatever is going on with them just because he cannot speak up to someone so much older to him. So I'm just saying, it just makes me think that not all elders deserve to be respected. So although respect your elders is an integral part of the Indian Sanskriti, in fact it is taught all around the world, a thought that the concept provokes is, why should a person be forced to respect another individual just because that person happened to have taken birth before him? Regardless of age, respecting people who truly deserve to be respected makes more sense. I'm not saying that we should not respect our elders because, regardless of age, older or younger, every person is a human being and the fact itself commands respect. But I'm just saying that a pervert should be called a pervert irrespective of his age. Lesson number 2, hero worship. We have been told to have an idol. We have always been told that you should follow them and achieve what great people have achieved. But this is probably one of the most flawed concepts you can instill in a child's head. Every person is different. I mean, let's take for example Bhagat Singh. As a child, he used to worship Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. But at the age of 13, when Gandhi started the non-cooperation movement, Bhagat Singh was 13 and he participated ardently in the non-cooperation movement, openly defying the British by burning all his government-issued school textbooks and all the imported British clothing he could find. But eventually, Gandhi called off the non-cooperation movement. He had his reasons. He called it off because he preached non-violence and the non-cooperation movement had gotten a little violent after a few villagers killed some British policemen, which was in itself a reaction to the British killing 3 villagers in Chauri Chaura by firing. But whatever the reason, when Gandhi called off the non-cooperation movement, Bhagat Singh did not blindly follow him and did what Gandhi was saying. Instead, he joined the young revolutionary movement and found his own way. And by the end of his life, he was the leader of the pack who was fighting violently against the Britishers. So every person has his own strengths and weaknesses, his own way of thinking. So learning from your idols is a good thing, but following someone, how is a person supposed to develop his own personality? If Bhagat Singh had stuck with what Gandhi was doing, he wouldn't have been recognized as one of the bravest freedom fighters of the country. He would have been and ended up being just one of Gandhi's many followers. Gandhi preached non-violence. He fought for India very violently. But so these two fought for India in opposite ways, and I think you would all agree that there was not just one reason India got its independence. It was a joint effort of both. The third lesson is following social norms. The norms laid out by the society for us sometimes do make sense, but are mostly just ridiculous. Sati Pratha, Jauhar, child marriage, dowry. It was only when someone or the other gathered up enough courage to raise a voice against these that these absurd systems were abolished. And even then, not completely. Children are still getting married before they pass out school, and this is happening way too often in way too many villages of the country. But in those are villages, people are illiterate, they don't know what is right, what is wrong, and the children who are getting married, they are too young to protest. But what really astounds me is the existence of dowry in the country. And not in the villages, but in the well-developed areas. I mean, educated, earning girls who are living in the metros are getting married, and their parents are paying BMWs and diamonds and crores of rupees as dowry. And what's even more bizarre, that this is happening in love marriages too. The girls do not object, neither do their parents, because why would they? They were the people who taught her that these systems need to be followed. So, you need to go against the grain. I mean, just because the systems are there, it does not mean that we need to follow them. So we should just use our own way of thinking and form our own perspective. I mean, why would I ever want to marry a guy who won't marry me unless he gets a big car and ridiculously expensive jewelry and lots of money from my father? The fourth lesson is achieve excellence in studies. Studies are not the be-all and end-all of everything, and scores of movies have been made depicting this to prevent undue pressure from the students' heads. They're basically just kids. Why are we forcing them to study so much? But then, I mean, examples of Michael Faraday, Mendel, and Sachin Tendulkar, they are just a few people who are uneducated and they've changed the world. But has it really changed anything? By the end of the day, everyone still wants their kids to top exams. Why is 75% not enough? Last year, SRCC put its cutoff at 100% for non-commerce aspirants for its BCom honors. There was an outburst all around the country. Everyone had something or the other to say about it. But did it change anything? No, this year again the cutoff is 96 to 98%. Yeah, big deal, 2%. So, and look where I'm standing. Indian Institute of Management. No offense, but you are the guys who make us average people look bad. So, putting undue pressure on kids to study does not really make sense. We watch movies depicting all of this, and we think about it. Everyone watched Three Idiots, and we think about it, and we feel that this guy is right. But at the end of the day, what happens? We go to sleep, and the next morning we wake up, we forget all about it. Now, the fourth lesson is don't be selfish. We have been taught to help others, to share, to not be selfish, to not put ourselves first in everything. But there is another principle, survival of the fittest. And these two principles oppose each other in equal measure. So what are you going to do? Are you going to die helping others, or are you going to make something of yourself? I mean, if you're not selfish, how are you going to get promoted ever? How are you ever going to win a race or competition or any sport of any kind? How are you even going to survive? As Oscar Wilde once said that selfishness is not living the way as one wishes to live. It is asking others to live how one wishes to live. So, moral of the story is that we can live as we want to live, as if we do not ask others to live as we want them to live. So, the basic principle at the end of the day is live and let live. The last lesson is excessive care of hygiene. I've seen people who prefer drinking milk out of a Tetra Pak, anything from 2 to 4 weeks old, than milk that is taken out right in front of their eyes. I mean, such paranoia. This has happened in my own family, And I was like, how can some people be so obsessive about hygiene? When foreigners visit India, they complain that they complain of diarrhea and typhoid and stuff like that. But yeah, that makes sense because they have always lived in a protective environment, and when they come in India, India is not very safe hygiene-wise, and they catch some diseases and all of that. But what about people living in India? They are obsessed with drinking water that is RO purified. Why is a water simple water that has been filtered not good enough to drink? Why do we need reverse osmosis all the time? How is a person going to learn to enjoy eating out at a roadside dhaba or eating pani puri if we are so obsessed about RO purified water? So I'm just saying that being careful is another thing, being obsessed and being paranoid is another thing. Basically, you should be careful about what you eat, your environment and everything, but being obsessed about hygiene has never taken anyone anywhere. It basically just weakens your immune system. So to sum it all, the thought I would like to leave you with is that there are grays in everything. Nothing is absolutely black or white. So consider the grays. There are exceptions to every rule. Yes, whatever we were taught as kids does make sense. In their essence, they are true. We should be good at studies, and we should not be very selfish. We should take care of our hygiene. We should respect our elders and all of that. But we're not kids anymore. We are allowed to think and form our own perspective towards things. So just open your minds and think. Someone very rightly said that beware of the man who recommends only one way of thinking without any exceptions. He's either God himself or a fanatic. Thank you everyone for having me here. Have a good day.